Welcome to the chosen bloom. Justice does not knock politely. It kicks the door down when the hour has come. Let that settle in, chosen one. While they convinced themselves they could slip away with what they did to you, the universe watched in silence, collecting truth like a slow, patient witness. Now the walls they raised to trap you are folding back on them. Their names are being inscribed into a story they never meant to star in. Picture that ending clearly. They plotted in shadows, whispered in corners, believing no one listened. They tried to steal your life, your peace, your name. They bent every force to bury you. Instead of you sinking, they are the ones who stumble like arsonists who lock themselves inside the house before lighting the match. That reversal is not accidental. It is the universe answering with a precision that feels both inevitable and poetic. Here's what you should carry with you. Arrogance is its own undoing. People who believe they have covered their tracks reveal them in brags, in slips, in misplaced trust. Those tiny mistakes become the trail that leads straight to the feast of their guilt. You did not need to fight every battle. The cosmos, in its patient way, has been turning their missteps into evidence. So breathe, chosen one. The universe is doing the work you cannot do for yourself. They thought they were hunting you. In truth, they were writing the warrant. Stay steady. Stay luminous. And if this message moved you, press like and subscribe to help it reach other souls who need to hear it. Spreading the light is not a solo duty. It is our shared responsibility. Thank you, chosen one, for answering that call. You are not a passive listener. You are an active current in a movement that refuses to be silenced. Hold that. Your presence here matters because every steady soul amplifies the truth. They tried to take your life. They set legal traps, whispered backroom gossip, engineered secret setups, every trick aimed to make you disappear. Yet the universe, in its quiet vigilance, kept placing barriers in their path. Those attempts that were meant to break you only met a stop sign the cosmos had already set down. And here is the cruel, beautiful twist. While they reached for your undoing, the universe could reach theirs in an instant. It does not tiptoe, it overturns. One moment they revel in mockery and freedom. The next, their laughter is drowned by handcuffs and flashing cameras. The turn is sudden because the cosmos works with a speed that makes inevitability look like surprise. Watch the symmetry. The mouths that cursed your name will be forced to speak of their own crimes. The hands that shoved you down will be shackled. The feet that chased you will stand still in orange jumpsuits. This is more than revenge. It is a clear lesson. No weapon formed against you endures when the universe calls time. So buckle up, chosen one. This isn't small-time justice patched together by courts or judges. This is cosmic justice, the universe itself rewriting the final act of a story they believed they controlled. Their stage, the very platform they used to shame and trap you, is now the place where their mask peels away. Their lies and betrayals will be exposed under a light so bright it reveals every seam, every hidden hand. It's a reversal so clean that even a screenwriter would envy its symmetry. This fall isn't only about iron bars or locked cells. It's the universe reclaiming what was stolen and forcing them to carry the weight of their deeds. Their freedom ends where yours begins. There is no appeal when the cosmos has made its decision, only a reckoning. So tell me plainly, chosen one, are you ready to walk this path with me, step by steady step? This is not a tale to pass the time, it is a revelation. Hear how the universe flips the script on those who dared to strike at you. If this lands in your spirit, drop a comment with 777. Now let that single number be your witness that their time is ending and justice is already moving in silence. Stay close. If you are truly a chosen one, you'll feel a quiet pull urging you to remain until the last word, because every detail that follows will confirm what you already know inside. Do not mistake this for entertainment. Each twist is confirmation. They could not take your life, but the universe can take theirs in a breath. Lean in. This is not a promise of revenge. It is the unveiling of truth. The first thing to understand is simple and savage. They tried to delete you, to make your existence vanish like a file with a careless click. Erase me if you dare, they thought. But remember, ink stains are easier to wash away than destiny. That is the weight you must carry now. They treated you like a file to be highlighted, dragged and discarded. They saw you as expendable, replaceable, forgettable. They misread what you are. You are not data. You are not silence. You are fire. Fire does not obey the wish to be gone. It spreads, it scorches. It leaves a memory in the air long after the flames subside. Think of a painter who spends years coiling color into a single masterpiece, every brushstroke a life, every layer a truth. You are that painting built in secret, refined by trial, impossible to erase without destroying the hand that made it. Their attempt to delete you only reveals the depth of your making. Their tool cannot touch the layers the universe has sealed. Layer upon layer color, texture, meaning each stroke a deliberate act of becoming. Then, an arrogant vandal barges in with a single splash, convinced one crude strike will erase centuries of craft. But the smear only exposes the work beneath. The restoration brings out depths that were invisible before. That ruin becomes the frame that makes the original masterpiece undeniable. That is exactly what your enemies tried to do. They smeared, they covered, they aimed to ruin. Yet every attempt to mar you only traced the contours of your real self more clearly. Their sabotage turned into a backdrop that accentuated your resilience. Their violence revealed the architecture of your soul. Ask why they tried so hard to erase you. The answer is not mercy, but fear. They attacked because they recognized in you something they could not copy, an essence, not forged by ambition, money, or pretense. You hold a thread the universe wove into you long before their hatred existed. Your existence itself is a truth they cannot manufacture. Here is the hard, simple fact. Those who cannot control you often try to destroy your reputation. When power fails, slander becomes the weapon of the powerless, twisting words, inventing narratives, rallying crowds. But falsehoods age poorly. They require constant tending. Truth endures without effort. So watch the pattern. The dust will settle, and the layers beneath will remain intact, even luminous. They could not take your life, and they could not erase what the cosmos has written into you. You are breathing, thriving, and by surviving you have become the proof of a work that no smear can finish. They thought slander would be the knife, but every whisper, every smear became their own confession. Their campaigns of deceit did not hide obsession, they revealed it. Ask yourself, why pour so much energy into erasing someone you claim is meaningless? Why spend sleepless nights plotting against a person you call irrelevant? Their frantic labor answered that question for them. Your existence mattered more than their words could admit. That obsession turned into the mirror they refused to face. Each time you rose, the reflection grew clearer and harsher, exposing what they feared most about themselves. Your survival did not soothe them, it accused them. Your peace stood like a calm shore against their storm, your endurance a living rebuttal to their cruelty. With every comeback, you became less of a target and more of an indictment. They realized, belatedly, that they were not up against an ordinary opponent. They were struggling against a force, something permanent the universe had placed in you. What they intended to erase became the proof that they were the ones with the problem. Weak, cruel, the true villains of the story they tried to write about you. When someone tries to destroy what the cosmos has sealed, their attack collapses inward. It's like trying to cut water with a blade. The blade dulls, the water flows on. Their knives sharpened on you lost their edge. Their plots boomeranged. The marks they meant to leave on you returned as fractures in their own armor. Every lie they told became a breadcrumb back to themselves. Every scheme sketched a paper trail of guilt. What they believed would bury you instead documented their own undoing. In trying to write your end, they authored their sentence. So hold this truth steady, chosen one. Their fury proved your value, their failure proved your endurance. By surviving, you did more than persist, you revealed them. And in that revelation, justice quietly finds its way. They believed they could silence your story, chosen one, yet in their hubris, they only published their own ruin. The cosmos watches with patient judgment. Arrogance left unchecked becomes its own snare. Now they sit ensnared by the very schemes they trusted. They could not take your life, but the universe can, in an instant, take theirs. This is not vengeance. It is equilibrium. It is correction, not cruelty. Consider this image. They reached for the switch as if you were a lamp to be turned off. But you are not tethered to their sockets. You draw from the same source that kindles suns and spins galaxies. No number of flipped switches can dim what is fed by that fire. And so the very light they sought to extinguish now reveals every shadow they have kept. Do you see why they tremble? Your survival is a verdict in itself. It proclaims their failure, exposes their falsehoods, and unmasks their pretended strength. Nothing terrifies a fraud like the moment the world sees through the mask. That is where they stand now, panic-struck, unraveling, exposed before the gaze of all. Remember this final truth, chosen one, you were never written in pencil. You were carved in stone, sealed by forces they cannot touch. Those who contend with what is permanent only break themselves upon it. That is why they now face consequences. They could not end you. Now they must live under the knowledge that the universe, at any breath, can end them. No apology, no excuse, no cover-up will alter what is coming. Their war against you was never merely personal. It was a war on destiny itself, and destiny always prevails. Hear this, when fate is challenged, the challenger loses, for destiny does not bend to cruelty. It endures. You were not a passing figure in their drama. You were a test placed before them, a mirror that showed what lay hidden beneath polished words and polite faces. The universe set you in their path as a measuring rod, to reveal whether they would rise toward truth or retreat into deceit. When the truth met them, they did not repent. Instead, they chose destruction. Like a student who tears up the exam rather than own a failing answer, they sought to obliterate the evidence rather than change. Their violence became proof of their unreadiness. Their rage was the confession that they could not stand scrutiny. You did nothing heroic to expose them. You remained constant. You held your ground, unmasked and unbowed. That quiet, steady presence was the test they could not pass. Your authenticity made their falsehoods sweat, and in that exposure, their collapse was written. They could not bear the truth your existence declared. Every false persona, every crafted manipulation, every mask they polished was paper thin beneath your light. When that paper caught fire, panic spread through them like smoke. They burned not because of you, but because the blaze revealed what they had buried. Ask yourself why they risked so much to tear you down. The reason is plain. Your presence drew a line they could not ignore. You forced a choice. They might have chosen loyalty, respect, or gratitude. Instead, they chose envy, betrayal, cruelty. Their attacks were never about you. They were the confession of what lived inside them. You stood as a revelation, a test of character the universe placed in their path. Think of a doctor turning a lamp upon a wound to see it plainly. The light is not an enemy. It is the instrument of healing. But the patient who smashes the lamp proves he prefers disease to cure. So it was with them. Your presence was the light that might have healed. They struck the light instead. In that strike, they revealed their verdict. Their refusal to change exposed an illness deeper than any lie. They were not simply hiding faults. They were devoted to the darkness that served them. Their attempt to destroy you only confirmed the diagnosis they could no longer deny. Hold this close, chosen one. Light is never the problem. Shadows resent being seen. Their hatred was not of you, but of the reflection they could not stand. Your existence did not bring the chaos. It only showed them who they already were. They waged war upon you, yet in truth, they warred against destiny itself. In such battles, destiny is the victor. Hold that, chosen one. Where they aimed to extinguish your life, fate instead held fast to you, and their efforts only revealed the depth of what they could not overcome. You were the test they never consented to take. The universe placed you among them as a living mirror to measure the content of their souls. When your presence reflected their true selves, they did not choose transformation. They chose destruction. In that refusal, their guilt was revealed. Do not mistake their violence for strength. When a student is shown a lesson and tears up the paper rather than answer honestly, the act of tearing proves the failing. So it was with them. Your mere existence exposed what they had hidden, and rather than mend, they sought to erase the proof. Their campaign of slander and smear was not stealth. It was confession. Every whisper and plotted rumor showed the magnitude of their obsession. Why spend so much energy to erase one found insignificant? Because you were not insignificant, you were the fault line that threatened to split their fragile faade. You did not make them cruel. You revealed them. Their cruelty was always inside, waiting for a mirror. Faced with the reflection, they raised their weapons. That was their treason, the betrayal of a chance to rise, to repent, to realign with truth. Instead, they authored their own indictment. Understand this: every lie they uttered, every plot they folded into motion became written evidence. Their attacks stood as testimony to your value. The harder they struck, the clearer the proof became. In railing against you, they defended you with the very force they meant to destroy you. What follows the failure of such a test is not spite, it is consequence. The universe is not vindictive. It is just. They touched that which was not theirs to harm, and balance will not permit the theft to stand. Their retaliation set in motion the unmaking of their gains. Imagine a man given a golden key to doors of peace and abundance. He discards it and then attempts by force to enter a vault that was never his. Alarms sound, records are made, and the law comes. So it is with them. You were the key and the blessing. They rejected you, and in their rebellion, they sounded alarms that will not be silenced. So keep this close, chosen one. Their failure is not merely exposure. It is the opening of a process. Their alliances will unravel. Their fabrications will turn against them. The sentence patiently unfolds, and the universe, in its measured way, completes what they began when they chose darkness over light. They believed they could silence what was sent to help them. In their attempt to demolish your gift, they summoned judgment upon themselves. This is the law of balance. To reject a blessing is to call down a reckoning. Hold that sentence like a talisman, chosen one. Your survival is proof that the cosmos answers such calls. They did not merely aim at you as a target. Each assault made you the evidence. Every smear, every scheme, every blow became another count, added to the case the universe was quietly composing. Their attacks wrote the indictment for them. Your endurance read like testimony. Their cruelty wrote its own confession. Now you may ask the oldest question, why me? Why were you placed in this role? The answer is neither random nor cruel. The universe placed you there because it knew your light would not be snuffed. It knew you could bear the heat and remain whole. You were not chosen to be erased. You were chosen to reveal. You stood as a mirror so true that even their best deceptions could not bend the image. That revelation is why they raged. They did not lash out because you were weak. They struck because your presence exposed the fault lines inside them. Confronted with the reflection of their own nature, they preferred treason to repentance. In choosing to destroy the light, they confirmed their sickness. Their refusal to heal became proof of guilt. Hear this plainly, the test was not to break you but to expose them. They failed, not by accident, but by decision. They touched what was sacred, and in doing so activated the forces that unmake theft. Their lies turned inward, their alliances dissolved, and the structure they relied on began to crumble. The sentence moved from whisper to fact. They could not take your life. Instead, they lost dominion over their own. No narrative they spin, no story they rehearse will erase what has been registered in the ledger of the cosmos. Their chance to pass was forfeited the moment they chose violence over transformation. Now they shoulder the weight of failure and the inevitable hand of judgment. Remember this, the universe does not err in sending tests. It errs only when men choose treason over change. That is why their downfall is certain. Their story closes where yours opens. They could not end you, but the universe can end them in an instant. Number 3, they tried to bend the cosmos and broke themselves instead. Number 4, those who attempt to bind what they did not forge end up strangled by their own ropes. Hear this, chosen one. Their hatred was not mere envy or pettiness. It ran deeper. They stepped into a darkness that violated the principles of balance they never understood. They believed lies, manipulation, and scheming would give them mastery. In truth, they wrestled with the order of the cosmos itself. When a mortal grapples with what sustains worlds, the mortal breaks. They did not conquer, they destroyed themselves. Picture a dam raised against a river. At first, the water seems contained. The plan appears to hold. Yet pressure builds in silence. Cracks form unseen until the barrier bursts and the flood consumes all, including the foolish hand that built the dam. That is their fate. They sought to dam your flow, to stop your rise. Each time you returned, their impotence was revealed. Why persist when failure follows? Because control had become their addiction. They could not endure your refusal to bow, to vanish, to obey. They tried to force reality into their script. Destiny does not bargain. The moment they attempted to block what they did not create, they signed their own undoing. Remember this, history shows a pattern. Empires founded on falsehood and coercion do not stand forever. Their collapse is the rule, not the exception. Keep this truth close, chosen one, for it explains why their end was only a matter of time. Not because outside enemies drove them, but because they broke the deepest laws of balance. Empires fall for the same reason, rot within, not siege without. The Romans, the Soviets, the ruthless cartels each collapsed under the weight of their corruption. Power founded on broken principles cannot endure. This is the fate now descending on your enemies. They named it strategy. It was suicide. They called it control. It was chaos. Now, every lie, every setup, every betrayal they used to stop you has become proof against them. They could not chain your body, so they sought to kill your mission. When they failed to end your life, they turned to assassinating your name. But burying truth only fans its flames. Their obsession was cruel and surgical. If they could not silence your breath, they would silence your hope, your voice, your future. So they attacked, not with blades, but with whispers, not with guns, but with shadowed slanders. Picture a snake that, unable to bite the strong, poisons the nest instead. They slithered into private conversations and public narratives alike, dressing venom as concern. They played the victim on stages while, in the dark, they crafted schemes to make you appear unstable, unreliable, unworthy. Their aim: isolate you, drain your allies, and smother the mission you carry. But here is their miscalculation. They sought to snuff what the heavens had lit, yet their blows only made the flame more steadfast. Purpose is no fragile paper. Destiny is no thin script. Each strike they aimed at you only welded your calling more firmly into place. Hear this and carry it. The pressure they applied revealed the strength already inside you. Why did their hatred refuse to relent? Because your light exposed the shadows that fed them. Your voice threatened the comfortable lies they banked on. Your growing reach threatened their control. Faced with that exposure, they panicked and doubled their assaults. They painted you as the problem. They redoubled their plots. And every action they took to silence you became the very fertilizer for your rise. Every betrayal hardened you. Every smear turned into a spotlight. Every pit they dug became a stage for truth to stand upon. History teaches the same lesson again and again. Reputations forged from falsehood will collapse of their own weight. Recall Salem. Recall the witch hunts. Falsehood spreads quickly, but truth endures and eventually crushes the lie. The pattern repeats here. Their plots backfired. The traps meant to bury you became the cages that hold them. The chains of deceit they wrapped around your name are the very handcuffs tightening on their wrists. The energy they spent to silence your mission now returns as the knock of justice at their door. Let this settle inside you, chosen one. The intensity of the attack is not proof of your weakness. It is proof of your power. They could not erase your mission. By warring against you so openly, they inscribed your destiny into history. The silence they sought to force has been shattered. Your purpose now speaks louder than ever. Their downfall will be the confirmation of what you were always meant to be. Number 5. Hear this, chosen one. Those who craft lies for others often fashion their own noose. Give a liar enough rope and he will bind himself. This is the law they failed to see. They misread silence as safety and patience as permission. Because nothing fell upon them at once, they believed the sky had abandoned its watch. Yet, justice moves with its own season. It waits, quietly allowing the boastful to parade, the schemers to splay their plans, until the hole they dug for you opens beneath their feet. Picture a thief who steals for years and grows careless with pride. One day he slips, caught on camera, and that single act collapses the whole house of deceit. So it has been with them. Their long arrogance, their brazen plotting, their loud boasting were not proofs of triumph. They were pieces of evidence stacking into a case against themselves. You may ask why the heavens did not halt them sooner, why you were left to bear the storm. Know this, patience is not weakness. It is strategy. The universe gave them space to repent, moments to return to humility, chances to mend what they had broken. Instead, they pressed onward, choosing falsehood over the slow work of truth. When pride drowns conscience, a man writes his own indictment in arrogance. History is full of those who mistook fleeting success for immunity. Their temporary victories became the footprint that led them to ruin. Hold this close, chosen one. Their continued assault was not the proof of their power. It was the slow accumulation of their guilt. Every boast, every scheme, every careless step tightened the rope they had unwittingly woven. The sentence was not sudden. It was prepared by their own hands. Dictators, crime lords, and corrupt magistrates all climb with the same foolish confidence. They believe themselves beyond reach, yet history proves otherwise. Justice does not fail. It arrives. Always. What you witness now is that inevitability. They did not construct their downfall with timber and steel, but with whispers, betrayals, manipulations, and calculated deceit. Each falsehood was a plank laid in their scaffold. Each betrayal was another knot in the rope. Now that rope tightens. The cruelty of it is plain to see. The very snares set for you became their trap. The calumnies they cast at you are the chains about their own necks. They mistook silence for safety, but silence was only the hush of judgment collecting proof. There is no flight left. The bill has been presented. Patience has ended. The sentence is at hand. At this hour, the cosmos does not warn. It executes consequence. Take this truth into your chest. Chosen one, nothing they did passed unrecorded. They merely purchased time to prepare their own ruin. Now the collapse is upon them. Number 6. Your silence turned out to be the clearest testimony. Silence is a terrible thing for liars. It unnerves them. It unsettles their plans. They expected rage, rebuttal, spectacle. They expected you to retaliate with noise. But you did not descend. You did not pelt them with accusations or mirror their venom. You stood still. You let your innocence resonate more loudly than their lies. That restraint became a weapon, sharper than outrage. Imagine a courtroom filled with clamor, witnesses shouting and counsel twisting every phrase. In such a place, truth is lost in noise. Your quiet, however, was the clean air that let truth be heard. Then, in a single instant, a solitary clip of proof plays, and the room falls into hush. While they clamored and spun their fabrications, your truth remained patient, concealed like a seed until its season. When it rose, it extinguished every lie with one clear breath. You may have wondered why silence felt like weakness while their voices carried weight. Know this: falsehoods travel swiftly, but they are brittle. Truth needs time to mature. When it ripens, it stands immovable. Each rumor they spread became another nail in the coffin they prepared for themselves. Each slander served as an exhibit against them. While you kept still, the universe was gathering. Their whispers, their smears, their made-up tales were being recorded not by your hand, but by a force far greater. Lies require constant maintenance. Consistency breaks them. People forget the script of deception. Contradictions appear. The inventors expose themselves. Watch now as that pattern unfolds. Those who once shouted with certainty now stumble over their words. Those mouths that once proclaimed victory now backtrack, revealing their fraud without knowing it. Your calmness became the mirror in which their falsehoods shattered. Ask why the crowd began to doubt. They compared two images, your steady silence and their endless performance. In that stark contrast, the truth became inevitable. You required no vindication, no clash. Your restraint did the work that noise could not. Rest in this reality, chosen one. You did not need to fight to be vindicated. Your quietness was the loudest testimony. Truth arrived, and when it did, it completed what accusation had begun but could never finish. They could not silence what stood before them. Your steadfast presence, your unyielding endurance, your refusal to bow, these became the living testimony. In patient constancy, you declared a truth louder than any accusation. Now those who sought to bury you are sinking in the quicksand of their own deceit. Their noise chokes them. Your innocence rings clear. Remember this: the cosmos keeps its own record. Number 7. They forgot the universe keeps cameras no thief can hack. Every secret carries an audience beyond mortal sight. The walls remember. The air preserves the whispers. Even silence holds witness. They mistook secrecy for safety. They imagined that absent human eyes, their plots would fade into darkness. But the universe requires no lens to gather fact. Every furtive grin, every staged condolence, every midnight pact was being catalogued by a watchfulness they could not flee. Picture a thief who believes the room empty, unaware of an invisible scanner tracing each print. He walks proud, yet every step maps his undoing. So it was with them. They laughed in shadows, plotted in hidden rooms, deleted messages and smoothed over favors. They thought their tracks were gone. They did not reckon with the quiet tribunal that records all things. You may ask why their secrets took time to surface. Know this: revelation ripens in its season. Exposure is like fruit. It needs maturity before falling. Patience is the engine of justice. While they rushed, the cosmos watched and waited, letting evidence accumulate until the moment of unveiling could not be denied. So stand firm, chosen one. Your silence was not absence. It was the crucible in which truth was purified. And when the hour came, the evidence fell into place and their fabrications unmade themselves. The world will see, the universe will show. Their undoing is the work of laws they failed to respect. They believed They had silenced your story. Yet in their pride, they only published their own ruin. Arrogance has a way of entangling itself. Now they are the ones caught. They could not take your life. The universe, however, can take theirs in an instant. This is not revenge. It is balance. This is not cruelty. It is correction. They reached for your light as if you were a lamp to be unplugged. But you are not powered by their socket. You draw from the source that kindles stars and orders galaxies. No switch they flip can dim what is fed by that fire. The very glow they tried to extinguish now exposes every shadow where they hide. Do you see it now, Chosen One? Their terror is not about your survival alone. It is about what your survival reveals. It says they failed. It says they lied. It says their power was illusion. Nothing terrifies a fraud like the unmasking. That is where they stand now, unraveling before a watching world. You were never written in pencil. You were carved in stone. Permanence rests on you. Those who wrestle with what is permanent only break themselves upon it. That is why they face consequence now. They could not end you. They must now live under the knowledge that the cosmos can end them in a breath. No apology, no alibi, no cover can change what is coming. Their war on you was a war on destiny. In such wars, destiny always wins. You were not a passerby in their drama. You were the test the universe set before them. You were the mirror. You were the measuring rod. When truth stood before them, they did not choose to rise. They chose to destroy. Imagine a teacher placing a simple exam before a student. The answers are already within. The test is a reveal, not a trap. But the student who panics and rips the paper proves he was never ready. So it was with them. Their violence became confession. Their refusal to change revealed what had always lived inside. You did not make them cruel. You revealed them. Their attacks were not merely assaults upon you. They were bold signatures of their guilt. Every lie, every smear, every betrayal became an entry in the record against them. In trying to erase you, they wrote the warrant for their own undoing. Think of a man given a golden key to open doors of peace and abundance. Instead of using it, he throws it away and tries by force to enter a vault not meant for him. Alarms blaze. Cameras record. Authorities follow the paper trail. You were that key and that blessing. They rejected you, and in their rejection they triggered alarms that cannot be silenced. Those who try to bind what they did not create find their ropes tighten upon themselves. They built dams to hold a river, and the pressure grew in silence. Cracks spread until the dam bursts and the flood devours all, including the hand that raised the barrier. History repeats this pattern. Empires born of deceit collapse under their corruption. Their strategy was suicide. Their control was chaos. When they could not end your life, they attempted to murder your mission. They sought to bury your name with whispers, lies, and staged tragedies. They slithered into conversations, poisoned minds with false concern, and painted themselves as victims while plotting behind closed doors. But what they meant to bury only grew louder. Every smear fertilized your rise. Every pit became the platform for truth. Your silence became the loudest evidence. While they shouted and spun fabrications, your calm held like a clear window. One clip, one record, one inconsistency, and the room fell silent. Lies move quickly, but they rot. Truth ripens slowly and then stands immovable. Their contradictions betrayed them. Their noise became their undoing. Remember this, the universe keeps cameras no thief can hack. Every secret has an audience beyond mortal sight. The walls remember. The air keeps its record. Deleted messages are logged in places they did not know to fear. Midnight deals and whispered curses were traced by a tribunal they could not evade. Patience was not absence. Patience was strategy. The cosmos allowed them room to repent, and they refused. Give a liar enough rope and he will weave his own noose. They mistook patience for permission and silence for safety. So they bragged. So they plotted. So they grew sloppy. Each boast, each scheme, each small trail became another plank in the scaffold of their ruin. Now the noose tightens and the sentence unfolds, slow and inevitable. They made bargains in darkness and signed their own sentence. Every contract inked in secret becomes a receipt of destruction. They thought hidden vows gave them dominion. They were wrong. The unseen realm they mocked is now the hand that drags their secrets into daylight. Chosen one, the file against them grew thicker while you kept your peace. Hold this truth in your chest. Their attempts to erase you only proved your worth. Their treason is the reason they fail. They could not kill your light. They could not stop your purpose. In trying to silence what was sent to help them, they only summoned justice. The universe collects, and it collects with surety. They thought they were buying power. In truth, they were writing their own ruin with every signature. Imagine a gambler at a crooked table, convinced the dealer favors him. He wagers his home, his family, his honor, blinded by the gleam of false favor. The house always collects. That is the shape of their gamble. They reached for secret rites, sworn pacts, and shadowed alliances, believing robes of influence would shield them. Yet darkness cannot alter what light has already ordained. No contract sealed in hidden rooms can annul what the cosmos engraved before time. Their oaths were not protections. They were promissory notes written in ash. For a season, their success seemed real. They strutted like monarchs, flaunted leverage, and scoffed at moral law. Corruption plays with the appearance of triumph before the collapse. It is the mirage of safety that precedes the desert. What they hoarded in secret is now being reclaimed in public. What they once counted as leverage becomes the evidence of their ruin. Hear a hard truth: corruption carries an expiry. History is strewn with rulers, bosses, and power brokers who traded integrity for control. They shone briefly, then fell like fragile houses of cards. Every deal with darkness bears a hidden clause. The price is always greater than the prize. That is where they stand now, exposed, losing ground, betrayed even by the forces they thought bound to them. Darkness offers loans, not loyalty, and every loan comes due. The debt arrives with interest. Chosen one, let this settle. Their phantom power was never yours to fear. It was the trap that finished them. Chosen one, mark the contrast that torments them most. While they were signing papers that wrote their ruin, you required no signature. You were already sealed with purpose, already anointed by a power they could not purchase. In trying to buy what you were born to carry, they only bound themselves to a fate they cannot escape. The gulf between contracts born of darkness and destiny, ordained by light, is now plain for all to see. Their ink has become their bondage. Your silence has become your armor. The world will soon witness which endures. They ridiculed your faith, and now they beg for a lifeline. They scoffed at the source that sustained you, only to discover in their hour of crisis that it is the very provision they lack. This is the bitter reversal. After all their slander, all their sabotage and betrayal, you still held fast to belief. You remained upright in trust. You kept whispering to the unseen even as their schemes collapsed around you. That steadfastness enraged them. They mistook faith for fragility, hope for naivete. They did not know they were mocking the very thing that would be their only rescue. Picture a traveler in a wasting desert who laughs at another for carrying water, calling him foolish for preparing. When the sun grows merciless and the throat goes dry, who will be pleading for a single sip? The mocker becomes the beggar. So it is now. They laughed when you prayed. They once scoffed when you spoke of trust. They rolled their eyes at your prayers. They smiled at your hope as if it were a child's folly. Now the tables have turned. Their walls crumble, their peace evaporates, Their doors slam closed. The same lips that mocked your faith now form the very words they once scorned. Ask yourself why they raged at your belief. The reason is plain: faith is rebellion. It refuses to be catalogued, quantified, or bought. Your trust held up a mirror to their emptiness. Each time you chose belief, you exposed that they had nothing to offer but cunning and contrivance. That exposure became intolerable, and so they struck at the light they could not extinguish. You did not break. You did not fold. Your conviction was tempered in trial and refined in fire. This is not naivete, it is resilience. Research on endurance shows a simple truth: those anchored to a higher cause recover and rebuild more fully. You lived that truth. Your calm and constancy became evidence against their chaos. Now they beg what they once mocked. The mockery has become pleading. Pride had its hour. Humility has been forced upon them. Let this settle in your spirit. Chosen one, ridicule does not fortify a soul. Belief sustains it. Your faith remains your shield, and their knives have only revealed how hollow their hands were. Not gently, but with pressure collapse and the unstoppable weight of consequence, their undoing arrives. The force they dismissed as fantasy has become the architecture of their reality. The silence that answers them is not emptiness. It is justice, deliberate and patient, unfolding so that all may witness what they once mocked. Hold this close, chosen one. Your faith was never foolish. It was your fortress. Even now, those who scorned it learn by the hardest lesson. You were covered from the beginning. While they schemed in shadow, you stood sealed by a power they could not purchase. Their attempts to steal your protection only exposed how hollow their methods were. Now watch as the balance they broke presses down upon them, not with whispers, but with the full force of consequence. Number 10. They fired dark weapons, forgetting the battlefield belonged to the light. They borrowed strength from shadows and imagined they had dominion. That was their error. Their desperation twisted into reckless spiritual gambits. Gossip and lies no longer satisfied them. They sought deeper instruments, rites, and rituals they barely understood. They paid for secrecy and invoked sources they could not control. They whispered your name over altars, consulted false guides, and called on powers that promised cages. Yet those hands that thought to bind you instead tightened the cord around themselves. Darkness does not serve. It consumes the hand that reaches into it. Think of a child in a lab, mixing volatile substances for sport. At first, there may be smoke or a flare. The true catastrophe waits until the formula turns, and the blast finds the one who meddled. So it was with them. Their dabbling did not summon mastery. It summoned ruin. The forces they courted turned on their summoners. You may ask why their attacks seemed to work for a while. That is a fair question. The appearance of success is the camouflage of corruption. For a season, false power may parade as victory. Yet such triumphs are fragile. They are the prelude to collapse, the brief mirage before the desert reclaims the traveler. They sought to buy dominion, yet every signature they pressed became a sentence against them. Imagine a gambler at a crooked table, certain of the dealer's favor, wagering house and family until the house collects. So they gambled with rights and pacts, cloaked in prestige and shadow. They believed those bargains would shield them. They were mistaken. For a season, their secrecy looked like strength. They strutted and flaunted, mocking laws they never understood. Corruption parades as triumph before it collapses. What they hoarded in darkness is now being reclaimed in public. What they counted as leverage turns into liability. Corruption carries an expiration. Their temporary empire is falling because every pact with darkness contains a hidden clause they cannot pay. You, chosen one, needed no signature. You were stamped by purpose before any contract could be offered. They tried to purchase what you were born to carry, and in doing so, they bound themselves. Ink became shackles. Your silence became armor. The contrast between what was bought in shadow and what was ordained in light is now plain to every eye. They mocked your faith, then begged for a lifeline. They ridiculed the source that sustained you, yet in their collapse they find it is the only refuge they lack. Faith is defiance. It cannot be catalogued, bought, or controlled. Your trust held up a mirror to their emptiness. Each time you believed, the mirror showed them as they truly were, and that revelation enraged them. They expected you to snap, to shout, to fight with the same venom they used. But you did not descend. You stood steady, whispering to the unseen when the world around you shook. That restraint was no weakness. It was the discipline that made truth audible when the time came. While their noise demanded attention, your calm allowed the evidence to breathe. When a single piece of proof played, the clamor stilled. A lone clip, a recorded moment, a contradiction, and the room fell silent. Lies travel fast, but they rot quickly. Truth ripens slowly and then stands immovable. Every rumor they planted became another nail in the coffin they were building for themselves. While you kept silent, the universe collected the case. They forgot that silence is not absence of witness. The cosmos keeps its own record. Walls, air, the hush between words all remember. They laughed in the dark, deleted messages, and smoothed over favors, unaware of the invisible tribunal that traced every fingerprint. Patience is justice's strategy. It lets arrogance reveal its own trail. They made bargains in darkness and signed their own ruin. A signature is a receipt, every whispered vow a ledger entry. Their rituals, their altars, their midnight deals were not shields, but invoices. The forces they courted did not serve, they consumed. What looked like power was a loan with crushing interest. Now the debt is coming due. Why did it feel so heavy? Because even shadows can shake a room for a while. Storms unsettle the heart, but storms pass. When the true owner of the field steps forward, coverings prove unbreakable. You were never a random mark. You were sealed, protected, and appointed long before envy arose. That is why every curse failed. The contracts they trusted could not touch what was already ordained. Their bodies, minds, alliances, and fortunes now fracture. The very forces they invited to bind you are devouring them from within. Their altars break. Their curses return like knives that cut the hand that cast them. Light was waiting. Light prevails. Number 11. The same hands that dug your grave are now behind iron. They labored to destroy you. They dug not into earth, but into your life, and in that digging they buried themselves. They sought to bury your voice, your influence, your destiny. They spun stories, planted false proof, turned allies into accusers, and convinced themselves they had prevailed. They expected you to crack beneath the pressure, to vanish, to be reduced to silence. Yet they did not know the kind of life you carry. You were not made merely to endure. You were ordained with an eternal purpose. You were never an ordinary person. You were appointed to liberate others, to speak truth, to bear light into dark places. Their scheme was not an attack on a single life. It was an attempt to entomb a divine mission. In their arrogance, they misread what stood before them. They could not comprehend how sacred your calling truly was. Now watch the reversal. The very hands that dug your supposed grave are being bound. The systems they imagined they could bend now hold them to account. What they designed as a trap has become the scaffold of their undoing. The fabrications they stitched together are the stitches that reveal them. Each planted lie is returning as evidence. Every covert maneuver becomes a mark against them. This is more than legal reckoning. It is spiritual justice made manifest. The earthly courts and the public eye are instruments through which the truth is declared. When it is written, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper," understand that this law can speak in the living world. Consequences sometimes arrive in the present life. They appear in handcuffs, in indictments, in reputations shattered before the watching crowd. They believed you stood condemned. All along they were the ones under accusation. Chosen one, hold this. What they meant to end has only confirmed your destiny. Their trial is your vindication. The light you carry was not diminished by their plots. It has become the witness that unseals them. Number 12. Hear now the final reversal, chosen one. What they meant for your ruin became the very wind that lifted you. The pits they dug to bury you were transformed into platforms from which you now rise. Every scheme, every whispered slander, every attempt to sabotage you did not close doors forever. It redirected you toward gates they could not lock. They believed their traps were final. In truth, each trap became a rung on the ladder of your ascent. They sought to steal your chances, and instead they cleared the way for greater opportunities to find you. Their campaign of malice furnished the materials of your victory. While they hurled bricks to wound, you collected them and built an altar of triumph. Listen closely. Adversity is an uninvited teacher. Each assault made you keener, each betrayal tougher, each lie a lesson in discernment. The tools they forged for your destruction became the instruments of your authority. You were not stopped, you were prepared. You were not diminished, you were elevated. So let this settle deep within you, chosen one. Their hatred did not hinder your destiny. It refined it. Their cruelty became the scaffolding on which your purpose now stands. They tried to bury what the universe ordained, and instead they handed the world proof of your endurance. Stand now, steady and unafraid. You have turned their worst into your way forward. The story that was meant to end with your fall now opens with your rise. And for those who have watched and believe, let your silence and your survival speak louder than any argument. They believed they were silencing your story, yet in their pride, they only published their own ruin. Arrogance sets its own trap. The more they schemed, the tighter the snare became. They could not steal your life, but the cosmos can strip them in a single breath. This is not revenge. It is balance. This is not cruelty. It is correction. Consider how they reached for your light as if it were a lamp to be unplugged. You are not fed by their socket. You draw from the source that kindles suns and turns the heavens. No counterfeit switch can dim what is fed by that fire. The very glow they sought to snuff now exposes every shadow they used to hide in. You were the test placed among them, a mirror that revealed what they had buried. When truth met them, they did not repent. They tore at the evidence. They tore at you, as if violence could erase what was already revealed. Their destruction, therefore, became confession. Every smear, every whisper, every forged rumor read like a signature upon their own accusation. Do not mistake their fury for strength. Those who cannot control the light often try to destroy it. In doing so, they only documented themselves. Each lie became a breadcrumb leading back to their guilt. Their plots boomeranged. The marks they meant to lay upon you returned as cracks in their armor. Silence was your strategy and their undoing. While they shouted, spun stories, and staged scenes, your calm gathered testament. Lies travel fast, but rot quickly. Truth ripens slowly, and when it appears, it is immovable. A single piece of evidence can still the clamor and make the whole court fall silent. Your restraint made that hour possible. They mistook secrecy for safety. They thought hidden vows, midnight deals, and secret rites would shield them. But the universe records in ways they cannot erase. Walls and air remember. Deleted messages leave tracks in jurisdictions they never feared. Patience is not absence. It is the careful work of justice collecting its case. They tried to buy power in shadows and only purchased their own downfall. Deals signed in darkness are receipts of destruction. Corruption may parade as triumph for a season, but every hidden contract has a clause they cannot pay. The forces they courted did not serve. They consumed the hand that reached for them. Your faith was their scorn, and now their only plea. They laughed when you trusted, mocked when you prayed, then begged when the tables turned. Faith is defiance. It cannot be measured or purchased. Your trust exposed their emptiness. That exposure enraged them and made them reckless. Their attempts to break you refined you instead. What they meant as subtraction became multiplication. What they meant as chains became the proof of your freedom. Trauma transformed into strength. The very bricks hurled to wound you became the stones upon which you rose. Post-traumatic growth is not a theory for you. It is the shape of your life. Their charm is cracking. Their stories unravel. Their alliances fracture. Every falsehood they planted is now evidence against them. Their attacks crowned you. Their betrayals promoted you. Their downfall is the poster that proclaims your destiny was never theirs to control. Hold this truth, chosen one. You were not written in pencil. You were carved in stone. You were sealed with permanence. They could not erase you. They could only write their own sentence. Now the world will watch as their sentence unfolds and your rise confirms what the universe ordained from the start. If this message has stirred you, press like and subscribe to help it reach other chosen ones who need to hear it.